Hello students, my name is Saurabh and today we are going to discuss about the fetal skull. So, the fetal skull is ovoid in shape. At term, it is larger in proportion to other parts of the skeleton. Now, we are going to firstly see the regions of the fetal skull. Vertex. The region vertex. There are three regions. First is the vertex, second is the brow or sinciput, and third is the face. So you can see the image in the bottom of the video. Three regions: vertex, brow, and the face. So let's see what is the vertex. Vertex is a quadrilateral area bounded by the anterior fontanelle and coronal suture in the front. So you can see in the image, vertex area is anteriorly bounded by this anterior fontanelle and the coronal suture. This horizontal line is a coronal suture. Both are the coronal sutures. And the posterior fontanelle and a lambdoidal suture behind. Okay, there is a posterior fontanelle. This triangular area is the posterior fontanelle, and these lines are the lambdoidal sutures. Okay. And the longitudinal line passing through the parietal eminence, and this is the eminence, means a prominent area or the elevated area. You can see this elevated area, the line, horizontal or longitudinal line passing through this area. Okay, so the vertex, in the vertex there is anterior fontanelle and coronal suture in the front side or anterior side, and posterior fontanelle and the lambdoidal suture in the posterior side, and there is a longitudinal line passing through the parietal eminence. This is the parietal eminence through which the longitudinal line is passes. ठीक है. उसके बाद after that we are going to see the brow area. Brow, also called the sinciput. Okay, it is the area bounded by the supraorbital ridges in the front. Okay, this is the area. At the front side there is a supraorbital ridges. You can see these elevated areas. This elevated area is the supraorbital ridges. Okay, and coronal suture behind, and anterior fontanelle and coronal suture behind, and longitudinal lines passing through the frontal eminence laterally. Okay, this is the brow area. At the posterior side there is the anterior fontanelle, behind side anterior fontanelle, and the coronal sutures. These lines are the coronal sutures. Okay, and there is laterally the longitudinal line passing through this frontal eminence. Okay, this elevated area is the frontal eminence through which if we draw the longitudinal line. Okay, so this makes the brow part of the fetal skull. And about the face part, now we are going to see. It is area bounded by the orbital ridges and root of the nodes. Okay, so what is the face area? Face area is nothing but this, from these supraorbital ridges. Okay, and the root of the nodes. This is the root of nodes. From this to the junction of chin and neck. You can see in the bottom of the image the junction of chin and the neck. So from these supraorbital ridges to the root of nose to the junction of chin and neck is the face area. So now we are going to see the bones of the fetal skull. There are two frontal bones. So in the video you can see this is the first and this is the second. There are two frontal bones. Okay, then two parietal bones. Just behind the frontal bones there are two parietal bones. This one and this one is the both are the parietal bones. Okay, and two temporal bones. Okay, just at the level of the ear you can see the temporal bones. So this is the first and this is the second temporal bone, and lastly the occipital bone, which is behind the fetal skull. Okay, at the posterior part you can see the occipital bone. So two frontal bones are there, two parietal bones are there, two temporal bones in there, and one is the occipital bone. Now we are going to see sutures of the fetal skull. Okay, we come to the sutures of the fetal skull. Suture where two skull bone joins is called the sutures. Okay, here you can see two bones are joining, frontal bone and the parietal bone is joining. So this line is a suture where the two fetal skull bones are joining is called the suture. Okay, so there are four sutures of the obstetrical importance. Okay, there are four sutures. First is the frontal suture. Okay, so which is the frontal suture? These are the two frontal bones, and this is the line. So this is the line, that is the suture. Okay, two frontal bones are joining at this line, so this line is called frontal suture. The name of this suture is the frontal suture. Then sagittal suture. Sagittal suture is between the two parietal bones. Okay, from this to this area. Okay, the sagittal suture is between the two parietal bones. These two are the parietal bones, and this line is the sagittal suture. Okay, now we go to the coronal suture. Coronal suture is between the frontal bone on one side and the parietal bone on the other side. Okay, the suture between the frontal and the parietal bone, okay, is called the coronal suture. So this line is called the coronal suture, which is between the frontal and the parietal bone. Fourth is the lambdoidal suture. Okay, this line, this curved line you can see. Okay, this is the lambdoidal suture. You can see this is the lambdoidal suture. It is between the parietal and the occipital bone. These two are the parietal bones, and this is the occipital bone. So this suture name is the lambdoidal suture. Now, what is the importance of the sutures? It permits gliding movement of one bone over other during the molding of the head. What does the suture do? Okay, it permits gliding movement of the one bone over the other during the molding of the head. What is the molding of the head? Molding of the head is nothing but overlapping of the bones when there is pressure on the fetal skull at the time of the childbirth. Okay, because there is a compact birth canal, so there is the pressure on the fetal skull. So this suture helps for the gliding movement. Okay, after the 24 hours the fetal skull gets normal. You can see in the bottom of the video. Okay, and digital palpation of the sagittal suture during vaginal examination in labor gives idea of engagement of the head. So you can do the digital palpation of the sagittal suture while the vaginal examination, and this gives idea of the engagement of the head. There is engagement of the head in the pelvis, which is very important for the labor and for the delivery of the fetus. So you get the idea of engagement of the head, degree of internal rotation of the head, and degree of molding of the head. So about these three idea, so these sutures are important for these three. Okay, let's go to the fontanelles now. What is the fontanelle? Okay, where two or more sutures join is called the fontanelle. Where two or more sutures join. So this is the sagittal suture, these are the coronal sutures, and this is the frontal suture. These are joining at this spot. Okay, so this spot is one of the fontanelle, and this name is the anterior fontanelle. Okay, there are 6 fontanelles on the skull, but only 2 are of the obstetrical importance. So there are actually the six fontanelles on the fetal skull, but only 2 are of the obstetrical importance. So this is the anterior fontanelle. Okay, it is the largest fontanelle. It is the junction of sagittal, frontal, and coronal suture. So you can see this is the largest fontanelle. Okay, this is the largest fontanelle you can see. Okay, and this is the junction. This is the sagittal suture, these are the coronal suture, and this is the frontal suture. So this is the anterior fontanelle, and it is in shape with the 2.5 cm length and 1.5 cm width. You can see a diamond shape. Its shape is the diamond, and 2.5 cm is the length and 1.5 cm is the width. Okay, Pulsations of the cerebral vessels can be felt through it. Okay, and the fontanelle closes by 18 months of the age. This fontanelle gets closed by the 18 months of the age. Okay, 1.5 years later, after the birth, this fontanelle gets closed. Okay, this is the characteristics of this anterior fontanelle. Let's go to the posterior fontanelle. Okay, this triangular area. Okay, you can see in the image, this triangular area is the posterior fontanelle. Let's zoom it. Okay, this is the posterior fontanelle. This is located where the sagittal suture meets the lambdoidal suture. Okay, the upward suture is the sagittal suture, and the horizontal suture or curved suture you are watching, you are looking, this is the lambdoidal suture. So the sagittal suture and the lambdoidal suture where meets, this junction is called the posterior fontanelle. Okay, it is triangle shape and measure about 1.2 by 1.2 centimeter. It is a triangular shape and the measurement is 1.2 by 1.2 centimeter and smaller than the anterior fontanelle. You can see it is smaller than the anterior fontanelle, which is very big and the largest. It closes by the 6 weeks of the age, and this fontanelle gets closed by the 6 weeks of the age, and which is very earlier than the anterior fontanelle. Anterior fontanelle closing time is 18 months, and the posterior fontanelle closing time is only 6 weeks of the age after the birth. Okay, now what is the importance of the fontanelle? Okay, it facilitates molding of the head. Okay, at the time of childbirth, this fontanelle facilitates the molding of the head. Okay, its palpation through internal examination denotes the degree of flexion of the head. Okay, its palpation through the internal examination denotes degree of flexion of the head. Means you can decide where in how much extent the head is flexed. Okay, how much extent the head is flexed. Okay, so that you can decide the presentation of the fetus. It is membranous after the birth, helps in accommodating marked brain growth. After the birth, these fontanelles are membranous, not hard. It is membranous, and it helps for accommodating the marked brain growth. Helps for the to accommodate the brain growth. Okay, depressed in dehydration and elevated in the case of the raised pressure. So if there is dehydration in the fetus, it is depressed, and in case of the raised intracranial pressure, it looks elevated. Helpful for collection of blood and exchange transfusion. These fontanelles are also helpful for the collection of the blood. You can collect the blood also, and for the exchange of the transfusion also. Cerebrospinal fluid can be drawn through the fontanelles. Okay, through these fontanelles, cerebrospinal fluid can be withdrawn also. Now we are going to see diameters of the fetal skull. Okay, so there is a mnemonic to remember the diameters of the fetal skull. You can see at the bottom of the video. Okay, so in SOS, send SMS, please transfer some money. Okay, only the capital letters denotes the name of the diameter. Okay, so S denotes suboccipitobregmatic. Okay, suboccipito means this is the occipital prominence. Okay, this is the occipital prominence. This is the occipital prominence. From the below point of this occipital prominence to the center of the bregma. Okay, this anterior fontanelle also called as bregma. So from this point below the occipital prominence to the center of bregma, okay, is called the suboccipitobregmatic, and this diameter is 9.5 centimeter. So this was for the S. Now for the O, occipitofrontal. Okay, this is the occipital prominence from this point to the this point, which is the glabella. Okay, glabella. From occipital prominence to the glabella is called the occipitofrontal, which is 11 centimeter. Okay, which is 11.5 centimeter. Sorry, 11.5 centimeter. Then S denotes suboccipitofrontal. Okay, suboccipitofrontal. Okay, suboccipito means the point below the occipital prominence, from there to the anterior end of the anterior fontanelle. Okay, so you can say this. Okay, from this point to the point below the occipital prominence, so this diameter is 10 centimeter. Okay, now let's go to the SMS mnemonic. Submentobregmatic. What is the meaning of submento? You can see at the bottom of the video also. Submento means from the junction of the chin and neck, from the junction of below the mentum. Submento means below the mentum, from the junction of chin and neck to the bregma, center of the bregma. What is the bregma? Bregma is nothing but the anterior fontanelle. So from the junction of chin and neck to the center of the bregma, it is the submentobregmatic, which is 9.5 centimeter diameter. Okay, then M denotes mentovertical. So from the mentum part to the highest point on the sagittal suture. Is the mentovertical diameter, which is 14 centimeter in the length. After that, there is submentovertical. From the junction of chin and neck, to the highest point on the sagittal suture. This is the sagittal suture. So there is a highest point is this. From this junction to this point is called the submentovertical, which is 11.5 centimeter. So these were the anterior posterior diameters. This is the anterior part, this is the posterior part. So these were the anterior posterior diameter. Now we are going to see the transverse diameter. Okay, so firstly we are going to see the biparietal diameter. Okay, biparietal diameter from the parietal prominence, the diameter is 9.5 centimeter. This is the biparietal diameter. Then bitemporal diameter. About the bitemporal diameter, the farthest point on the coronal sutures. So these are the coronal suture. So from this point to this point, okay, these are the antero-inferior points on the coronal suture. Okay, these are the antero-inferior points on the coronal suture. So if we join these points, there is a diameter called bitemporal diameter, which measures about the 8 centimeter in length. Then okay, this was about the please transfer. P is for the biparietal, P denotes the parietal, and T denotes the bitemporal. Now S is for the subparietal diameter. So these are the parietal bones. A point just below the parietal prominence, to the point just above the parietal prominence on the other side denotes the subparietal diameter, which measures about 8.5 centimeter. And last one is bimastoid diameter. You can see at the bottom of the video the mastoid process, just posterior to the ear canal. There is a mastoid process. If you join these 2 points on the mastoid of the mastoid process, you will get the mastoid diameter, which measures about the 7.5 centimeter. Okay, so this bimastoid diameter is the shortest diameter, and the longest diameter is mentovertical diameter, which measures about the 14 centimeter. So this was all about the fetal skull. Thank you. Like, subscribe and share if you like the video.